What if the most powerful cleanse you've ever done cost less than $3 and was sitting in your kitchen right now, while the wellness industry has built a multi-billion-dollar empire selling detox powders, juice protocols, and 30-day cleanses, promising to flush years of toxins from your body overnight? The ancient world had already solved this problem. Quietly, practically, without a label. The Book of Daniel records a young man who refused the king's rich food and wine and asked instead for water and simple plants. After 10 days, his appearance surpassed every other man at court. The ancient Egyptians called one of these plants the plant of immortality and carved it onto temple walls 4,000 years before it showed up on any wellness influencer's shelf. And a wild plant considered a weed by most homeowners in North America was classified in ancient Chinese pharmacopoeias as a primary herb for liver restoration, the organ that does more cleansing work in your body than any supplement ever could. Today we're breaking down 13 cleansing drinks grounded in ancient tradition and examined by modern science that work with the organs your body already uses to filter, flush, and protect you. Pay close attention to number 1. It's a drink most people have walked past 1,000 times and never once considered. But researchers studying it have found something that changes the conversation about what internal cleansing actually means at the cellular level. And stay with me for number 7, because the story behind it isn't just about a plant. It's about a man in the wilderness. 3 days without food or water. Collapsed under a tree and asking to die. What happened next, and what modern physiology tells us about that moment, may be the most striking convergence of scripture and science on this entire list. Number 13. Lemon water. There's a reason that across every traditional healing system on earth, Ayurvedic practice in ancient India, traditional Chinese medicine, old European monastic herbalism, and the folk traditions of North Africa, the first act of the morning involved warm water with citrus. This was not coincidence. It was convergence. Independent civilizations, separated by thousands of miles and centuries, arrived at the same first step. In the book of Proverbs, wisdom is described as water poured out freely, available to all who seek it. The temple priests of ancient Israel performed ritual cleansing with water at dawn before any other act of service. The connection between water, morning, and the preparation of the body for the day ahead runs deep through the ancient world. When you squeeze half a fresh lemon into a glass of warm water, you deliver vitamin C, zetric acid, and a class of plant compounds called flavonoids directly to an empty digestive tract. Vitamin C is a cofactor for your liver's phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification processes, the two-stage system by which your liver converts fat-soluble toxins into water-soluble compounds your body can then eliminate through urine and bile. Without adequate vitamin C, those processes slow. Citric acid stimulates the release of digestive enzymes and bile salts in preparation for the day's first meal, reducing the likelihood of undigested material accumulating in the gut. Research on citrus flavonoids, particularly hesperidin and naringinin, has shown they reduce oxidative stress in liver tissue, and your liver is filtering your entire blood volume roughly every 4 minutes around the clock. Here is the preparation detail most people miss. Use room temperature or warm water. Never boiling. High heat degrades vitamin C rapidly. Add the lemon after the water has cooled slightly from the kettle. 1 tablespoon of raw, unfiltered honey, the kind that may be cloudy, possibly crystallized, can be stirred in to add its own mild antimicrobial and prebiotic compounds. Drink this before coffee, before food, before anything else. The grandmothers who did this every morning didn't have clinical trials. They had generations of observation. The biochemistry is now beginning to explain what they already knew. Number 12. Cucumber mint water. Here is something that almost no cleanse protocol addresses directly. You cannot flush anything from your body without adequate hydration. Your kidneys, your lymphatic system, your liver, they all depend on water to move waste out of tissue and into elimination pathways. And most people over 50 are chronically, quietly underhydrated. Cucumbers are approximately 95% water, but they are not merely water with flavor. They contain a compound called cucurbitacin B, which has been studied in laboratory research for anti-inflammatory properties, and electrolytes, particularly potassium, that help your kidneys maintain the fluid balance that makes efficient waste elimination possible. Potassium works in direct opposition to sodium in the kidney's filtration system when potassium levels are adequate. The kidneys are better able to release excess fluid, and the water-soluble waste products dissolved in it. Mint contributes menthol, an active compound that relaxes the smooth muscle of the intestinal wall, easing the passage of waste through the digestive tract. Traditional Middle Eastern and Mediterranean cultures combined cucumber and mint for centuries, not just as a refreshing drink, but as a folk remedy specifically for digestive discomfort and bloating, the two symptoms most commonly associated with a body that needs cleansing. Slice half a cucumber and a large handful of fresh mint leaves into 2 liters of cold water. Let it infuse in the refrigerator for at least 2 hours. The slow, cold infusion pulls the volatile menthol compounds into the water more gently than hot steeping, preserving their effect on intestinal muscle. Sip throughout the entire day. This is hydration with architecture. And without it, every other drink on this list is working at reduced efficiency. Number 11. Green tea. Buddhist monks in China and Japan were drinking green tea for health and mental clarity more than 1,000 years before the first clinical trial was ever designed to study it. They observed what modern researchers have since confirmed, that this minimally processed leaf, steeped and consumed daily, produced something measurable in the people who drank it consistently. Green tea leaves are briefly steamed or pan-fired after harvest rather than fully oxidized like black tea, which preserves a class of antioxidants called catechins. The most studied of these is EGCG epigallocatechin gallate, which has been shown in peer-reviewed research to reduce oxidative stress in liver cells, support the activity of detoxification enzymes in the liver, and reduce fat accumulation in liver tissue in people who consume it regularly over weeks and months. The liver is your body's primary chemical processing plant, responsible for neutralizing everything from metabolic byproducts to environmental compounds that enter through food, air, and water. Supporting it with antioxidants is not optional. It's maintenance. There is a preparation detail here that matters enormously and that most people ignore. Never brew green tea with fully boiling water. Water at 212 degrees Fahrenheit scorches the delicate catechin compounds and produces a bitter, degraded cup with a fraction of the antioxidant activity. Heat water to approximately 175 degrees Fahrenheit, steaming but not rolling, and steep for 2 to 3 minutes. 2 to 3 cups daily, prepared this way, delivers a consistent and meaningful dose of liver-supporting catechins over time. Of every drink on this list, green tea may have the deepest and most sustained body of research behind it. The monks didn't need the studies. They had the results. Number 10. Dandelion root tea. This is where most modern conversations about cleansing drinks never go. And that is a loss of genuine magnitude. Dandelion, the same plant most homeowners spend considerable energy eradicating from their lawns, has one of the longest documented histories as a liver-supporting herb in traditional medicine of any plant in the Northern Hemisphere. It appears in Chinese pharmacopoeias, dating to the Tang Dynasty, 7th century, as a primary herb for supporting liver and digestive function. It was used by European monastic herbalists throughout the medieval period and by Native American healers across dozens of tribes for what they consistently described as liver and kidney support. 3 independent healing traditions on 3 separate continents, converging on the same weed. The active compounds include taraxacin and taraxacerin, bitter sesquiterpene lactones that trigger what herbalists call a bitter reflex. The moment these compounds contact taste receptors in the mouth and stomach, your body increases the production of bile, digestive enzymes, and hydrochloric acid in preparation for processing food. Bile production matters specifically for cleansing, because bile is the liver's primary vehicle for exporting fat-soluble waste products, hormones. Processed environmental compounds. Cholesterol byproducts out of the liver and into the digestive tract for elimination. Research on dandelion extract has shown measurable support for liver enzyme levels and protective effects on liver cells against oxidative damage. Dandelion also acts as a mild natural diuretic through its inulin content and through a compound called taraxol, which supports the kidneys in releasing excess fluid and the water-soluble waste dissolved in it. To prepare dandelion root tea properly, use dried and roasted root. The roasting process caramelizes some of the starches and reduces bitterness to a level most people find almost coffee-like. Steep 2 teaspoons of dried root in 8 ounces of near-boiling water for 10 to 15 minutes. Covered. To prevent the volatile bitter compounds from escaping with the steam. Drink 1 cup in the morning. The bitter taste is not a flaw. It is the mechanism. Traditional European herbalists recommended dandelion specifically in early spring. After winter eating, the seasonal wisdom is biochemically sound. Number 9. Ginger lemon tea. If there were a single fact about this list that should give you pause, it is this: traditional healers in ancient India, traditional China, ancient Rome, and medieval Arabia all independently combined ginger and citrus into a warming drink used specifically for digestive restoration and internal cleansing. They shared no trade routes for this knowledge. They arrived at the same combination through separate observations made across centuries. Ginger contains compounds called gingerols and shogols. The shogols form when fresh ginger is dried or heated and are actually more potent anti-inflammatory agents than the gingerols in raw root. These compounds have been shown in clinical research to accelerate gastric emptying, the rate at which food moves from the stomach into the small intestine. When gastric emptying slows, as it commonly does with age, stress, and certain medications, food sits in the stomach longer than it should, fermenting and contributing to the bloating and heavy, sluggish-feeling people most often associate with needing a cleanse. Ginger also inhibits the activity of certain pro-inflammatory enzymes, reducing the chronic low-grade gut inflammation that interferes with healthy absorption and elimination over time. A preparation detail that almost no one mentions: grate fresh ginger rather than slicing it. Grating ruptures more cell walls and releases far higher concentrations of gingerols into the water. Use a thumb-sized piece, approximately 10 grams, grated directly into 8 ounces of hot water. Steep covered for 10 minutes. Then add the juice of half a lemon only after the water has cooled slightly below 160 degrees Fahrenheit, because heat above that threshold degrades vitamin C significantly. Drink this 30 minutes before your largest meal of the day, when your digestive system needs the most preparation and support. The Romans who carried dried ginger on military campaigns didn't know about gingerols. They knew that soldiers who used it recovered from digestive illness faster. The mechanism came later. The observation was the original evidence. Number 8. Turmeric golden tea. The ancient Sushruta Samhita, one of the foundational texts of Ayurvedic medicine, dating to roughly 600 BCE, listed turmeric among the foremost purifying herbs available to a healer. The spice appears in ancient Sanskrit texts as Haridra, the golden one, used both internally and externally to support healing, reduce pain, and purify the blood. Egyptian physicians in the Ebers Papyrus referenced turmeric-related compounds as wound treatments. Traditional Chinese physicians classified it as a blood-moving herb, used specifically when the body's circulation and elimination had become sluggish. The active compound is curcumin, a polyphenol antioxidant and anti-inflammatory agent that has been the subject of thousands of peer-reviewed studies. Curcumin supports the liver's detoxification enzymes, specifically the glutathione S-transferase enzymes involved in binding and neutralizing reactive compounds, and has been shown to reduce inflammatory signaling throughout the body at the molecular level, inhibiting NF-κB. a protein complex that acts as a master switch for inflammatory gene expression. Here is the preparation fact that traditional cooks knew and modern wellness culture is only beginning to rediscover. Curcumin is nearly insoluble in water and almost completely unavailable to the body when consumed alone. Two additions change this entirely. First, black pepper, specifically its compound piperine, inhibits the enzymes in your liver and gut that would otherwise metabolize curcumin before it can be absorbed, increasing bioavailability by research estimates of up to 2. Bifengerline. This is not a coincidence of flavor. It is traditional wisdom encoded in recipe. Second, fat. Any dietary fat makes curcumin significantly more absorbable because it is fat-soluble. Warm a cup of whole milk, coconut milk, or any milk of your choice. Do not boil it. Whisk in half a teaspoon of turmeric powder, a pinch of black pepper, a small amount of freshly grated ginger, and a teaspoon of raw honey if desired. Drink it warm in the evening. Your body does its most intensive cellular repair work during sleep, and curcumin consumed with fat and piperine in the evening is positioned to support those processes during their most active window. The Ayurvedic physicians who combined these ingredients 4,000 years ago didn't know about NFKB. They noticed that people who use this preparation consistently age differently. The science is now offering a molecular explanation for what they observed. Number 7. Apple cider, vinegar, water. Stop here for a moment, because this one requires a story. 1 Kings chapter 19 opens in the wilderness of Beersheba. The prophet Elijah has fled. He has traveled an entire day into the desert, collapsed under a broom tree, and asked God to let him die. He is not merely tired. He is physiologically depleted in a way modern sports medicine has a precise name for severe glycogen depletion combined with electrolyte imbalance and acute dehydration. His body is failing not from weakness of will, but from the absence of the specific compounds it needs to continue. What happens next is a provision. An angel touches him and says, "Arise and eat." Beside his head is a cake of bread baked on hot coals and a jar of water. He eats. He drinks. He lies back down. The angel comes a second time. "Arise and eat, for the journey is too great for you." He rises. And then the text records something remarkable. He travels 40 days and 40 nights on the strength of that food. That is not poetry. That is a description of cellular restoration. The bread on the coals provided rapidly available glucose, the fuel the body uses to replenish muscle glycogen after depletion. The water restored blood volume and kidney function. But there is a third element implied in the broader context of ancient Israelite nutrition that connects directly to this entry, the tradition of fermented beverages. Vinegar, sour fermented wine consumed daily in the ancient world, was the electrolyte drink of that world. The Book of Ruth records Boaz offering his workers bread dipped in vinegar, the living cultures, organic acids, and trace minerals that sustained physical labor in desert heat. Apple cider vinegar is the modern continuation of that fermented tradition. Raw. Unfiltered apple cider vinegar contains acetic acid, the compound that gives fermented vinegar its characteristic sharpness, along with a substance called the mother, a living matrix of beneficial bacteria, wild yeasts, and enzymes formed during the fermentation process. Acetic acid has been shown in clinical research to improve insulin sensitivity and slow the rate at which glucose enters the bloodstream after a meal, reducing the spike and crash cycle that creates metabolic burden on the liver and pancreas. When your liver is not constantly managing blood sugar disruption, it can allocate more enzymatic resources to its detoxification functions. Research has also shown that acetic acid may support a healthier balance of gut microbiota and promote more efficient gastric digestion. A preparation note of genuine importance: always dilute. 1 tablespoon, a maximum of 2, in a large glass of water. Drinking apple cider vinegar undiluted. Over time, erodes tooth enamel and can irritate the esophageal lining. The acidity that makes it effective internally is the same property that makes undiluted consumption harmful externally. Dilute it. Add a teaspoon of raw honey and a squeeze of lemon if the flavor is challenging. Drink it before your heaviest meal of the day. Elijah arose on the strength of whole food and fermented tradition. The research is beginning to explain the biochemistry of why that provision worked. If this kind of ancient knowledge, the kind that shows up in scripture, in cross-cultural history, and in modern research, simultaneously resonates with you, hit like and subscribe right now. What's coming up next goes even deeper. We're not done. Number 6. Aloe vera juice. The Ebers Papyrus. Written approximately 1550 BCE, and among the oldest surviving medical documents in human history, lists aloe vera as a treatment for skin disorders, digestive complaints, and internal inflammation. The ancient Egyptians referred to it as the plant of immortality, a name that appears hyperbolic until you understand what they were observing. The inner gel of the aloe leaf does something that very few plants can do. It directly soothes and supports the lining of the digestive tract, the gatekeeper between what you consume and what enters your bloodstream. What makes aloe gel unique is its polysaccharide content, specifically a compound called ace-manon, a complex sugar molecule that has been shown in research to support the integrity of the intestinal mucosal lining, the delicate single-cell thick layer that regulates what passes from the gut into circulation. When this lining is compromised by chronic inflammation, stress, medications, or certain foods compounds that should remain in the digestive tract can move into the bloodstream, triggering systemic inflammatory responses. Researchers refer to this as increased intestinal permeability. Ace-manon and the other polysaccharides in aloe gel help support a more intact and functional gut lining. Traditional Ayurvedic medicine called aloe vera kumari, meaning the young one, and used it specifically as a cooling, restorative herb for the digestive tract, the liver, and the reproductive system. Traditional healers in the Caribbean and Latin America use the inner gel of the aloe leaf as a morning tonic for digestive health across generations. When choosing aloe vera juice, look specifically for products that specify inner fillet only or outer leaf latex removed. The outer leaf of the aloe plant contains anthraquinone compounds, particularly aloin, that in large amounts act as harsh stimulant laxatives and are not appropriate for regular internal use. The inner gel, removed carefully, is what delivers the soothing polysaccharide compounds. Drink 2 to 4 ounces of pure inner fillet aloe vera juice on an empty stomach in the morning. The Egyptians did not have electron microscopes, but they observed across generations that this plant changed something fundamental about how the body processed what it consumed. 4,000 years later, researchers are identifying the molecular reasons why. Number 5. Beet juice. There is a compound in beets that exists in almost no other food on Earth. Betalains, the pigments that give beets their striking deep red color, are a unique class of antioxidants that differ fundamentally from the flavonoids and carotenoids found in most other colorful plants. Eastern European and Russian folk medicine has used fermented beet kvass, a slightly effervescent, tangy drink made by fermenting raw beets in salted water for several days as a liver tonic and blood-building drink for centuries. In those traditions, the deep red color was itself considered significant. The plant that colored like blood was believed to support blood. The betalains in beet juice have been shown in research to reduce oxidative stress in liver tissue and support the glutathione-dependent enzymes your liver uses to neutralize reactive compounds during detoxification. Beets are also exceptionally rich in dietary nitrates, compounds your body converts into nitric oxide, a signaling molecule that causes blood vessel walls to relax and widen. Improved circulation means better perfusion of the liver and kidneys. More blood flowing through these organs per minute means more efficient filtration. Studies have shown measurable improvements in blood flow and reductions in blood pressure within 2 to 3 hours of consuming beet juice, even in people already managing blood pressure with medication. The preparation detail that matters: juice your beet fresh and drink it within 20 minutes of juicing. Betalains begin to degrade almost immediately upon oxidation exposure to air after cutting. If you cannot drink it immediately, add a squeeze of lemon juice to the glass. As the ascorbic acid acts as an antioxidant and slows betalain degradation. Juice 1 medium beet with half an apple for sweetness and a small piece of ginger for digestive support. And drink it cold and fresh. The beet is doing two things at once, protecting your liver and improving the circulation that makes your liver's work possible. That is a combination that justifies its centuries-long reputation. Number 4. Parsley, lemon water. Most people scrape parsley off the plate without a second thought. That habit costs them something real. Parsley has been used in Mediterranean and Middle Eastern folk medicine, specifically as a kidney-supporting herb for over 2,000 years. Traditional Egyptian, Greek, and Levantine healers used parsley water, the liquid from steeping or blending fresh parsley, as a remedy for water retention and urinary tract health. Practices that appear in herbal texts from multiple independent traditions across the region. Parsley contains a compound called apiol, a phenylpropanoid found in the volatile oil fraction of the plant that has been shown in animal and preliminary human studies to produce mild but measurable diuretic effects by influencing kidney tubular resorption, the process by which the kidneys determine what to keep in circulation and what to send out through urine. When kidneys filter more efficiently and release more fluid, water-soluble waste products, including metabolic byproducts of protein digestion, excess electrolytes, and water-soluble environmental compounds, move out of the body more effectively. Here is the preparation detail that concentrates this effect. Blend parsley rather than steeping it. Blending ruptures the cell walls and releases the apiol-containing volatile oils that heat and steeping can partially destroy or evaporate. A large handful of fresh parsley, approximately 30 grams, blended with the juice of 1 full lemon and 2 cups of cold water. Then strained through a fine mesh strainer. Delivers a concentration of apiol and vitamin C that no tea preparation can match. Drink this in the morning on an empty stomach. Parsley is also rich in vitamin K, chlorophyll, and flavonoids that support the liver independently of its kidney-focused apiol content. It is doing kidney and liver work simultaneously. And most of it ends up in compost bins around the world every day. Number 3. Hibiscus tea. In ancient Egypt, hibiscus tea, known there as karkadeh, was consumed by pharaohs and recorded in hieroglyphic texts as a cooling and purifying drink. Across the trade routes of the medieval Arab world, it moved into West African ceremonial and folk medicine, where it became known as bissap, consumed specifically as a cardiovascular and kidney tonic. In Mexico, it arrived as agua de Jamaica and became one of the most widely consumed traditional drinks in the country. Valued for exactly the same properties the Egyptians had identified over a millennium earlier, the same plant, 3 independent civilizations, the same recognized effects. Hibiscus flowers, specifically the dried calyces. The deep red fleshy structure surrounding the flower are extraordinarily rich in anthocyanins, the same class of antioxidants found in blueberries and pomegranates, which give hibiscus its striking ruby color and its antioxidant potency. Research on hibiscus tea has produced some of the strongest evidence of any beverage on this list for a specific measurable effects studies, including a well-cited randomized controlled trial published in the Journal of Nutrition, found that regular hibiscus tea consumption produced significant reductions in systolic blood pressure in adults with mildly elevated readings. The proposed mechanism involves hibiscus's influence on the angiotensin-converting enzyme, the same system targeted by a class of pharmaceutical blood pressure medications. Hibiscus also demonstrates diuretic properties, supporting the kidneys in releasing fluid and the water-soluble compounds dissolved in it. Steep 3 to 4 dried hibiscus calyces, or 1 heaped teaspoon of dried hibiscus in 8 ounces of near-boiling water for 5 to 7 minutes. The water will turn a vivid ruby red almost immediately. Do not oversteep beyond 10 minutes. Extended steeping releases tannins that produce an excessively astringent flavor. Drink it warm or chill it over ice. A touch of raw honey and fresh mint makes it one of the most pleasant drinks on this entire list. What the pharaohs of Egypt were doing with karkadeh. Modern clinical researchers have now measured in randomized trials. The gap between ancient practice and contemporary validation is closing. Number 2. Matcha. If green tea is strong evidence for the liver protective power of catechin antioxidants, matcha is green tea taken to its logical conclusion. Matcha is made from the same Camellia sinensis plant as green tea, but the growing and processing method is fundamentally different. For several weeks before harvest, the tea plants are shade-covered, traditionally, with bamboo mats or fabric, which dramatically increases the production of chlorophyll as the plant reaches toward reduced light. This shade-growing process also concentrates L-theanine, an amino acid unique to the tea plant, that promotes a state of calm, focused alertness by increasing alpha wave activity in the brain and moderating the stimulating effects of caffeine. Then, instead of steeping the leaf and discarding it, the entire leaf is stone ground into a fine powder and consumed whole. You drink the complete leaf. This means that when you prepare and drink matcha, you are consuming every compound in the leaf, not just what diffused into water during steeping. Research comparing matcha to conventionally steeped green tea has found that matcha can deliver concentrations of EGCG and other liver protective catechins several times higher per serving. The shade growing also increases chlorophyll content significantly, and chlorophyll's molecular structure, differing from hemoglobin only in its central atom, magnesium in chlorophyll, iron in hemoglobin, has led researchers to investigate whether it may support healthy blood composition and help bind certain compounds in the digestive tract for elimination. Buddhist monks at Japanese monasteries have prepared and consumed matcha in formal tea ceremony for nearly 1,000 years. Originally imported from China, specifically because it supported the long periods of seated meditation that monastery life required alert, clear-minded, and calm simultaneously. L-theanine is the compound that made that possible. To prepare matcha, traditionally, sift half to 1 teaspoon of ceremonial-grade matcha powder into a bowl to break up clumps. Add 2 ounces of hot water at approximately 175 degrees Fahrenheit, never boiling, which scorches the delicate catechins and turns the color from vibrant green to dull brown. Whisk briskly in a zigzag motion with a bamboo whisk until a layer of fine foam appears. Then add more hot water to your desired concentration. Drink it within a few minutes of preparation, as the suspended powder will begin to settle. The monks who built this tradition into their daily rhythm across 1,000 years were not aware of EGCG or hepatoprotective enzyme activity. They knew what they experienced. Modern research is providing the molecular language for what they observed. Number 1. Dandelion and nettle infusion. Here it is, the drink most people walk past every day of their lives. And when you understand what is actually in it, you will wonder why this was ever the drink the modern world forgot. The Book of Exodus, Chapter 12, records the very first Passover instructions. Among the foods commanded for that sacred meal were bitter herbs maror consumed alongside the unleavened bread and the lamb. Scholars and historians have long identified the likely candidates: chicory, wild lettuce, dandelion, sorrel, and stinging nettle. These were the wild plants of the Sinai and Judean landscape that ancient Israelites would have known intimately as spring greens. They were not symbolic accoutrements. They were medicine built into a meal. Stinging nettle urtica dioica appears in traditional healing texts across European, Arabic, Ayurvedic, and indigenous North American traditions for the same cluster of uses: kidney support, blood building, anti-inflammatory applications, and liver tonic properties. It was used by traditional Greek physicians for respiratory health and by Roman legionnaires who rubbed the fresh plant on their legs, a practice called urtication, to stimulate circulation in cold climates. The plant was so consistently valued across independent cultures that its appearance in traditional medicine on every inhabited continent suggests a convergence of observed benefit that demands scientific examination. Modern phytochemical analysis of stinging nettle reveals a remarkable nutritional and bioactive profile. The plant contains unusually high concentrations of iron and vitamin C, a pairing of extraordinary relevance because vitamin C dramatically increases the bioavailability of non-heme plant iron. A single cup of nettle infusion prepared by long steeping provides measurable amounts of magnesium, calcium, potassium, and silica, along with chlorophyll, quercetin, and a class of lectins called Urtica dioica agglutinin that have been studied for immune-modulating properties. Research on nettle extract has shown anti-inflammatory effects through inhibition of the NF-κB pathway, the same inflammatory master switch affected by curcumin, and support for kidney function through mild diuretic activity. Combined with dandelion, whose bitter compounds stimulate bile production and liver enzyme activity, this traditional spring tonic creates something that works on the liver, the kidneys, the blood, and the gut simultaneously. Here is the preparation method that maximizes the bioactive yield of this combination. And it is not commonly known. Use a long, cold infusion rather than a short, hot steep for nettle. Place 2 tablespoons of dried nettle leaf and 1 tablespoon of dried dandelion leaf in a quart mason jar. Fill with room temperature or cold filtered water. Cover tightly and allow to infuse for 4 to 8 hours or overnight in the refrigerator. The extended cool infusion extracts a higher concentration of minerals and chlorophyll than hot steeping, which can destroy heat-sensitive compounds and volatilize the volatile oils that contribute to the plant's anti-inflammatory effects. In the morning, strain the deep green infusion and drink 8 to 12 ounces before breakfast. The color will be a deep, almost forest green. The flavor is mild and grassy, like the landscape in spring, which is, in the ancient world, precisely when this drink was consumed, when the earth renewed, when the body was prepared for a new season, when the bitter herbs of Passover reminded those who consumed them that freedom and restoration required the plants that had always been there, wild, available, and overlooked. The bitter herbs of Exodus were not an afterthought. They were the medicine hidden inside the ritual. 4,000 years later, nutritional biochemistry is beginning to inventory what they contained. The principle behind everything you've just heard. There is one thing that connects every drink on this list, and it is not the plants themselves. It is the way the plants were prepared. Every traditional preparation you've heard today, the cold infusion of nettle, the low-temperature steeping of green tea, the grating of ginger rather than slicing it, the addition of black pepper to turmeric, the slow refrigerator infusion of cucumber and mint reflects something traditional healers understood long before chemistry could explain it. The active compounds in plants are fragile. Heat above certain thresholds destroys them. The part of the plant most commonly discarded, the dandelion root, the parsley stems. The pineapple core is often where the highest concentration of bioactive material lives. The modern wellness industry has taken these plants, isolated what they consider the marketable compound, concentrated it into a capsule, and removed the cofactors that make it work. Curcumin without piperine, iron without vitamin C, aloe gel stripped of its polysaccharide matrix. A compound isolated from its whole food context is almost always a diminished thing. What the ancient world understood, what the bitter herbs of Passover, the dawn lemon ritual, the monastery tea ceremony, and the spring dandelion infusion all reflect is that the body was designed to receive these compounds whole, in their prepared, precise, traditional forms. The liver processing your food today is biochemically identical to the liver that processed food in ancient Israel, ancient China, and ancient Rome. The plants that supported it then are still in your grocery store, in your garden, and in the field outside your window. The question worth sitting with: if civilizations, separated by thousands of miles and centuries, arrived independently at the same plants, the same preparations, and the same uses, what does that tell us about the relationship between the natural world and the body that inhabits it? If this video gave you something worth thinking about, share it with someone who is tired of expensive promises and ready to consider what was already known. Hit like and subscribe. Tell me in the comments which drink surprised you most, and let me know what you want covered next, because the intersection of ancient knowledge and modern science is deeper than any single list can hold.